Thank you very much. And I guess the world is no longer so anti-capitalist. It's rather accepting that companies make gains and at the same time they invest. And people want companies to make gains in their country and invest in their country. But I think it is very useful that you already broached the broader region. You were speaking about Libya, you were speaking about Syria. And I would like to ask Amr Moussa, who has been Secretary General of the Arab League for so long. It is interesting that basically from the last couple of months, you were in the office, in your job. The Arab League seems to have undergone a total role reversal, as it were. We used to say that the Arab League can only be so good, and sometimes we said it can only be so bad as the member countries that are represented there in the Arab League. It has usually not intervened in the domestic affairs of other countries. And now it seems the Arab League is in the forefront, sometimes ahead of the United Nations Security Council, in imposing sanctions of countries that do step down on human rights with their boots, one may say. Is that all about human rights and a new sort of value orientation of the Arab League, or is it actually playing geopolitics through the Arab League? Can you explain a little bit to us?
Well, I want you to know that the drive for change started seriously and very well documented in the debates of the summits and other levels of discussion since the year 2004, when I, as Secretary General, introduced a proposal to the Tunis summit, March 2004, for change, modernization, and reform. And I urged the summit to adopt a basic document highlighting the necessity to promote change, modernization in education, rights of women, economic and social development, transparency in politics, in actions, and in debates. The voting should not be by unanimity or only through building a consensus, but the majority, which we really did with Libya. It was very, and with Syria too. Some countries opposed the sanctions and opposed that march, but through the majority, we decided that. So the Arab League believed in the change and the necessity of change. And I would say, although this is something known in Egypt, and in fact in several Arab countries, I wish to repeat it here, that a week before the revolution in Egypt, the it was 19th of January, in Sharm el-Sheikh, we had what's called Economic and Social Summit. And as Secretary General, I spoke very bluntly that things cannot continue that way, and people are fed up. Entering the hall, heads of state and myself as Secretary General, a young journalist asked President Mubarak, "What about Tunis?" So the President said, "Tunis is one thing, Egypt is another." So I started speaking. I said, "Mr. President, distinguished heads of state and government, the revolution in Tunis is not away from this hall. The people are fed up. Oppression, poverty, mismanagement has become the order of the day in several Arab countries, and this is going to change. This is going to change." It was broadcast live. They didn't expect that this will be my intervention. And some kind of investigation took place after that. But I insisted that a change is coming. Change is coming. And a week later, it came. What I said was the reflection of many of us that felt the end of the regime is coming. The Arab League, since 2004, introduced a lot of those changes.
But the big changes came this year, actually.
Yes, indeed. It came through revolution. Tunis, Egypt, and then the rest. Is this, as we were talking now, would this be the order of the day? I say yes, indeed, it will. And it will affect all countries with those differences I'm talking about. But the Arab world is not going to be the same again. There will be no dictatorships. We cannot live with it, and we should not live with it. We have to move towards democracy and building a different society, changing our education system, caring for the people themselves. And there are a lot of things that could be done with little money. We don't need help or monetary help or financial help for every action we take. We have to do it very quickly and immediately. Even this government, which was formed a couple of days back, and it's a temporary one, transitional government. But there is a lot for them to do, in at least the services for the people. That's one thing. But at the same time, the Arab people and even and also, of course, the Egyptian people, they care about what is going on in the region. I met with so many groups of young people, the revolutionaries in the Tahrir Square, when I was Secretary General, which is in Tahrir Square. So they used to come in scores. They spoke about education, spoke about poverty, spoke about so many things pertaining to the internal situation, but no group of the tens or so many that I have met ended without asking me, what about Palestine? So when several of our colleagues, ministers, especially European ministers or Western ministers, they conveyed to me that they heard in Israel a question or an observation telling them, you see, the revolution did not come because of Palestine. It came because of poverty and because of mismanagement, etc. I told them, look, this is what is happening. You will hear Palestine very soon, unless the Israelis, the Israeli leadership, the Israeli government, realizes that the Middle East is changing, the Arab world is changing, and they have to change their policy and their point of view. Here comes the point that every revolution, Tunisian, Egyptian, Syrian, or whatever, has its own domestic reasons and internal elements. But in the end, we need to have a peaceful region. We need to have a different region. We need to have a new order, regional order. This will help the change, and change will help the order. One thing, or at least one important basic thing, will continue to hinder this, which is the Palestinian issue. That is why it is in our interest, all of us, to have a fair solution. That is, it is building up now, the unanimity all over the world that this has to come to an end. The other one that should be also probed, especially in a society like this, the Middle East regional security system that will have to be discussed, promoted, then negotiated, and then at least drafted and agreed upon. We have to bear in mind that this change taking place in the Middle East is paving the way for a new regional order. Economic regional order, security regional order, political regional order, and we have the two roads, either a positive one of cooperation, openness, open borders, joint economic projects, and the rest, which is possible, or continue to do the same business as before. I believe that it is for all of us to promote, to call for, to work for the first option, that the Middle East has to change. You have to help us changing this Middle East into a new order where all the old, chronic problems will have to be tackled, especially that we know how to tackle them. And the obstacle is known. Therefore, a change, a regional change is needed, and the role of the big powers will have also to change.